as Meghan tries to continue to sell to the public an authenticity identity this year alongside her As Ever brand, and this hasn't taken off like she expected, of course. I mean, nothing really does, because she expects to just say, I am this now, don't you see? And everyone be like, of course you are. But that's not how any of this works. Her history of being incredibly inconsistent and also rather toxic and manipulative are in direct contrast to this image that she's trying to sell right now and align with her As Ever brand. There is a huge gap between the Meg and this As Ever version of the Meg. Meghan Markle wants you to believe that she's whimsical now, charming, hospitable, that she is the modern embodiment of Southern Californian warmth, breezy picnics, handwritten notes, beautiful baskets of sauce, and elegant runny jam jars. That's the fantasy behind her newest brand endeavor, previously known as American Riviera Orchard Montecito, now known as Ever, which was sort of limped out this year with limited product drops and an Instagram grid of soft light florals, an attempt at retro charm, and blurry pictures with bad perspective. Whether it be a weird disembodied hand reaching for the basket or Meghan stalking the honey from the distance. It's a weird approach to marketing, but she's really trying to push this vibe. And there's a big problem with it. None of it feels like Meghan Markle. None of it. In fact, As Ever, as a brand identity, is so far removed from Meghan Markle's public persona that we've all come to know that it almost feels like it was created for someone else entirely. The disconnect isn't just confusing, it's branding malpractice. Let's break down why Meghan's latest attempt at reinvention of herself is being met with raised eyebrows, peak cringe, secondhand embarrassment, and absolutely no endorsements from anyone but herself. She assures us repeatedly that all her friends are so happy to see the Meg being her and that she has always been this way. But we've never actually heard anybody say it. Not even Harry. As I previously mentioned in my Meghan's identity crisis video, I think that her current obsession with loving nature and being authentic stems from Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who actually is genuinely passionate about wildlife and you know, the healing power of nature is something she's talked about a lot this year, and how much she spent a lot of time outside and how much it helped her. And she is seen as one of the most genuine and authentic people in the public eye today. So I still think that that's the source of it. But for whatever reason, Meghan cooked up this fantasy image for As Ever's aesthetic to be whimsy, charm, and curated authenticity, which is contradictory. From the brand's launch video, which was a gauzy, overexposed montage of Meghan picking flowers and cooking in a sun-drenched kitchen, to the spindly font of her logo, As Ever is clearly aiming for a sort of Nancy Meyers meets Goop type of vibe. Think domestic bliss, which is ironic for the feminist, right? Heirloom tomatoes and intentional living. But it just doesn't hit. Her brand is trying to lean hard on the aesthetics of authenticity, things like handmade goods, a personal touch, even a nostalgic nod to vintage Americana. It's the kind of brand that promises the comfort of jam on toast at golden hour, equal parts Martha Stewart and Kinfolk magazine. But is that the Meghan the public knows? No, it is not. Absolutely not. The public persona of Meghan that we know is calculated, controlling, controversial, and cold, rather ruthless even. Her public image is many things, but whimsy and authentic are never among them. I don't think anybody has ever mentioned that. Same with Fashionista, her newest delusion. Nobody has ever said that about Meghan, okay? It's just not happening. From her time on Suits, where she was still really not very well known at all, I had no idea who she was, to her combative time with the royal family has been marked by controversy, litigation, and what many view as a heavily manufactured narrative. She's frequently accused of over-curating her image and of leaning too heavily into victimhood, while often claiming to want privacy amid high-profile media deals. And of course, you cannot ignore her constant, incessant need to boss around everybody around her, pushing Harry this way and that way, and pushing in front of him, and telling people where to stand for photos, and just being too hyper. Like, just calm down and let things flow naturally. Go with the flow, Meg. Whether it's the Oprah interview, the Netflix docuseries Harry and Meghan, or the now defunct Archetypes podcast, or her other podcast, Confessions of a Sucky Business Lady, or even with Love Meghan now, the Meghan that the public sees is strategic, serious, and polarizing. Even her interviews on The Cut and Vanity Fair magazines. She's often perceived as controlling the narrative rather than living it, trying to push a PR spin rather than heartfelt hospitality or honesty. So when she suddenly rebrands as a jam-making domestic goddess, the whiplash is real, and the public is rejecting it. It's just not gonna stick, Meg. Now, if she had, instead of doing Oprah, come out of the gate with Instagram posts like she's doing right now, way back then, and we never had Oprah, and we never had Harry and Meghan on Netflix, we never had any of that nonsense, then this As Ever brand and With Love Meghan would have stood a chance, because we would have had this gap of a few years, and then her reintroduction to the public would have been, I just really did want to live a little bit more privately while my kids were young. I didn't want to have to work. I wanted to do homemaking stuff. I wanted to cook. I wanted to learn how to make jam. I wanted to learn how to garden, I wanted to just do stuff like that. And now, years later, I'm going to share with you all the stuff I learned. How fun is that? That would have worked and seemed a lot more genuine, because we wouldn't have had that first impression of her on Oprah that was doubled down on for the next several years with every other appearance that she made. So her reintroduction to the public after they left the royal family sealed the fate. Now there's no going back on it, because now Meghan has one image of what we got from Oprah, that she's lying, she's calculated, she's cold, she's contrived, and she's manipulative. And now she wants to be something else entirely. So people are like, well, then who is the real Meghan? We're more inclined to believe the first impression that we got. The one that you spent a few years backing up, this victim narrative nonsense full of lies and manipulations, because that also is pretty well supported by what we knew of her with the royal family, that she was very difficult and all that. Authenticity has become one of the most valuable currencies in celebrity branding. But it's also the hardest to fake, and that may be Meghan's biggest challenge. She wants to be seen as relatable and down to earth, but very few people believe that she actually is, because the stories that she tells often seem to conflict with past statements, public records, or observable reality. From embellishing anecdotes to questionable claims of being unaware of royal protocols, her credibility has taken hit after hit after hit for years now. Even her fantastical, so incredibly obviously false statements on the Emma Grede podcast, that one morning in January, so many friends had texted me that the jam I sent them made them happy. Just nobody believes that, Meghan. With As Ever, Meghan is trying to reset the narrative, but rather than addressing those credibility issues head on, she's bypassing them with a visual fantasy of authenticity that doesn't feel earned, and that's where the brand falters, and is Harry and Meghan's biggest PR mistake at this particular moment in their lives is not apologizing for what they have done. Celebrities who screw up bigly are almost always given a second chance if they say sorry. But Meghan and Harry won't do that. And so the public's not going to let it go. When the branding doesn't match the brand, it's doomed. It is a big problem. Successful celebrity lifestyle brands, like Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop is a great example, they work because they reflect a version of the celebrity that the public already believes or believes in. Gwyneth has always been a health nut with a crystal budget. But Meghan, her name is more often associated with lawsuits, tension with the royal family, image control, and manipulations, more so than it is with joy, hospitality, or lightness. So when she markets whimsy, the public just sees a spin. Worse, the As Ever product rollouts have been oddly opaque. Jam jars were gifted to a hand-picked list of really high-profile celebrities and some friends, For the longest time, there was no pricing, no product details, no timeline, and then no name. If the brand is meant to reflect hospitality and openness, then honesty is a key ingredient in that. Why does everything feel so secretive? It's another contradiction that is weakening the brand's credibility, as well as just its general organization and impression in the business industry of like, okay, this is a mess. This is some sort of weird fever dream that Meghan thinks is a fantasy people will buy into, but absolutely no one does. Her As Ever brand, she thought could be a fresh start, along with Love Meghan. I mean, remember her 2025 omen that it was going to be great has just backfired spectacularly. She thought this would be a soft, warm reintroduction to a public that has grown skeptical of her story, but instead it plays like a rebrand without a reality. The problem isn't just that the aesthetic doesn't match her personality, it's that the brand feels like a costume, and in the era of social media, people can sniff out a performance faster than ever. Until Meghan closes the gap between who she says she is and who she shows up as, and who we all know her as Ever may continue to sell a fantasy that no one's truly buying. But leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!